What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday night. Welcome to Deep in the Plus. I'm Rob Whiteside. I'll be your host for this magical journey through the movie called Moana. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going, well, Rob, you know, that's like a 2016 movie. I'm not sure how deep in Disney Plus that is, but I'm going deep with the expert, the man, the myth, the legend, Maleko McDonnell. How are you?
Hey Rob, I'm great. Thanks for checking in with us here in Hawaii.
Oh my gosh, my friend, I am so thankful for you to be on this show with me talking about this movie. You were on before talking about Lilo and Stitch, and the first time I reached out to you, I was like, I'm not going to ask him to talk about Lilo and Stitch. That's too, it feels not right. And you were like, hey, let's talk Lilo and Stitch. You said, hey, let's have me back for Moana, and I'm so excited about this because I love this movie. I mean, this is one of my favorite princess movies, and it's, you know, we can talk about how princessy it is as we go through it, but this, I mean, I'm just really excited. How about you?
Right, unless you ask her, in which case she's not a princess, she's the daughter of a king, and you know, in which case that's that's her take on the whole thing. The princess that isn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. You know, the movie, when it came out here, it was a big deal. A lot of local talent worked on the film. There was a lot of consulting done with some locals and stuff, and so it was a really big deal. It still is, and it still holds a really special place in everybody's heart.
Well, and you know what? We're living in a world of checking our cultural insensitivity, a world of inclusion. Tell me, like, from that standpoint, my understanding is that there was like a whole commission of people that said, we want to do this movie right. We want to do this movie justice. I mean, what do you know about that? And then also, do you think they hit the mark when it comes to that?
You know, I don't know the background on how people got involved, but I do know some of the names that were involved. The Candell brothers they're credited as a story as part of the story writers, and they were, as I understand it, pretty influential in helping to connect the dots. You know, you have a story that's generally about Pacific Islanders and the wayfinding tradition, the navigating tradition, which is very true. It's very much a part of the island history. And, you know, the story itself is fictional, but there are so many little moments where people who know history here in the islands will go, oh, that's kind of true, or that I can see how that worked, how you go from here to there, from the truth to, the story. So there's a lot of feels real to it. And I think they did a really good job with that.
Well, and I was going to ask you about that, too. Like, if this was, Mulan is an actual Chinese legend. So I didn't know if Moana was also a Chinese legend. I mean, not Chinese, a Polynesian legend. Who knows, right? It could be, a Polynesian legend or not, because Maui is something I feel like I hear about all the time. Moana, not so much.
You know, I've never heard of Moana. Obviously, Maui, he comes up a lot in storytelling of Hawaii, and in fact, his whole "You're Welcome" song is all about the little things that you might have heard about Maui, and there's little bits of truth in that song. Things that I heard when I was growing up. It's like, oh, Maui did this, and oh, Maui is responsible for this, and of course, he tells you everything in the song.
It wasn't Maui's coming to get you, was it? Like kind of like the Krampus type of a thing, like it was Maui under my bed.
No.
Okay.
It's very much what he was portrayed as, like the trickster. He was kolohe, as they say here in Hawaii, which is just a little bit of a misbehavior.
Okay. So let me ask you, you may not know about this one, but there is a statue, or was a statue in the Polynesian, I think it's still there, hotel at Disney, that this is supposed to be Maui. Had you heard that before? I assume you've been there. You are a Disney fan.
I am a Disney fan. I did not know that. Wow. Has that always been there?
Well, no, not always. It used to be a huge like fountain in the very middle of the whole thing. There was It was like all these flowers and trees and things when you would walk in. But when they redid the Polynesian a few years back, they put this in the very middle of it when they redid the lobby. So it's in that grand ceremonial house when you walk in. And I never knew that it had a name until the movie came out, and then I was like, somewhere along the line it was connected that that's Maui.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, no, I think that's great. In fact, I understand that they're doing a lot of Maui themed renovations to the hotel, and they're putting in some stuff at the park too.
Yes, and we will talk about that. Absolutely. Because again, most of the people who watch the show are huge hardcore Disney Parks fans, as you
I'm
are.
sure. I'm sure they know more than I do. Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. I'm a huge Disney fan, but I mean, I live on an island, and so we're
Literally.
we're pretty far away. It's hard. It's hard to get to Disneyland or Disney World from here. Especially hard to get to Disney World. In fact, it might even be easier sometimes just to get to Tokyo Disney, just because it's almost as close as Disney World is from us.
Why would you say that now? All I want to do is you and me at Tokyo Disney. Like that
Let's
feels like,
do it, man.
yeah, that feels like it
You
needs
got
to
to hop
happen.
over to Hawaii, pick me up, and
Okay.
then we'll head over
I
there.
mean, I'm
We'll
down,
say,
man.
Konnichiwa to Mickey.
Yeah, I'm absolutely down for that. So let me ask you then. When I was early on when this movie was like under development or in development, I saw at D23 they rolled it out, and when they did it at D23, one of the things that they did was that they had The Rock come out, and they were talking about who they were going to have to host or I mean to voice Maui. And before he came out, you heard his booming voice from the sides, and it was I don't know. I got chills. I'm not a huge rock fan, but I'm kind of a huge rock fan. I figured. Like I feel like this movie would not have been the same without Dwayne Johnson.
He definitely was himself in this film. I feel like he brought everything to that character. Maui, that would have been a tough character for any other actor to play. Like imagine Owen Wilson playing that character. That just wouldn't have worked quite as
That,
well.
that
Or
yeah. That wouldn't have gone with the cultural
David Spade.
program
I
that
don't
they were
know.
trying to do with that. I don't think to put someone else like that. I mean, he is very proud of his Polynesian heritage. Not David Spade, but The Rock, and so
The
it is.
Rock, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they worked some of that into the last Fast and the Furious movie or the Hobbs versus Shaw movie. I forget which one. And so I mean, it's really cool to see that, and it feels authentic. And that was something you talked about with Lilo and Stitch, is that they went to great lengths to make it authentic. And again, you feel like they captured that here to make it authentically Polynesian.
I think they did, and I think we did talk about this a little bit in Lilo and Stitch. Is a lot of times, movies about Hawaii are either written about Hawaii by people who have only been here a few times, or they're written by people who live here and understand here. And a lot of times, those both don't necessarily hit the mark with a local and a foreign crowd. Disney, 100% of the time, make sure that they involve the local culture so that before the movie even comes out, the people here in the islands are excited for it. They're thrilled to hear what's happening, and there's little Easter eggs that pop up before then, little meetings and little videos and stuff like that, and meet and greets. So they excite the island culture before they bring the movie out, and they did that with Lilo and Stitch. They did that with Moana, and so Hawaiians, the people here in the islands, they either will love it or they hate it. And if you show a good appreciation for the islands when you make it, then you get nothing but love and support. And putting The Rock in was a huge step for that, because he is an island icon. He is a legend here. We love our celebrities, and The Rock is such a hometown boy. That was a home run.
You could call him a homeboy. It's like he's your homeboy. That's fine. No, so there are a lot of other little things, and again, I don't want to nitpick all this because I do want to get into the movie. But there are a lot of other things that, as I'm watching it, and I have Google. I could Google these things, but I feel like I have you. I should ask you because you may know. Is that the fish hook that he has in the movie? But when he gets into the fight, and they he has his fish hook and he goes to to strike it down, he loses his fish hook and he loses the heart of Te Fiti, and so they show it falling into the water. They show the heart of Te Fiti,
Right.
and I'm just thinking, is that something they came up with for this movie, or is that something that is an actual thing? I don't know.
I've never heard of. I think you're talking about Tekka. I think that's the one.
Okay.
The lava monster, right?
Yeah. All right.
I've never heard of that character. I've never heard of that monster. The heart of Te Fiti is a new concept to me. I've never heard of it. The fish hook is a symbol that you see quite a bit in Hawaiian culture. it's a symbol that you see a lot, whether it's written or it's printed, or actually they sell them. You can actually buy them, in gift shops and stuff. And then if you meet people who are, Native Hawaiian, people who grew up here, the fishhook is a symbol of strength. It's a real powerful symbol to some families here. So I think the fishhook was 100% spot on. His source of strength, that makes sense for Polynesians, for Pacific Islanders.
So the other thing is this place that takes place is a fictitious place, Motunui. Is that correct? I mean, that's not something, and so where this has a definite Hawaiian vibe, or a New Zealand sort of vibe, whichever. I mean, it's not anywhere, right?
I don't know of the island. I've never heard of it, so I don't think it's anywhere. But what it is, the way the people are and the way they live, and their story of being wayfinders, that whole that's believable. You could apply that to probably quite a few of these Pacific islands, because that's how these people got here. They sailed to these islands. They lived much like those people lived. And so while it may not be a real island, there's definitely some similarities to a lot of Pacific Island cultures.
So we talked about how the animation is different. Again, I'm just blown away with this animation. Like, the water is fantastic. And of course, the water is a character in this. The ocean is a character. But the sand, just everything about this is so beautiful. And like when baby Moana comes on, man, there is nothing cuter. I could hear little kids in the background there. I'm sure there's like 82 baby Moanas walking around on the beach out there or whatever.
Yeah, the pool is pretty busy outside my window here. But the water animation, the way the humans are animated in the story, it blew me away. It's just, I was talking to my wife last night. I said, I don't think I've seen animation. We watched it again yesterday. I don't think I've seen animation quite this detailed, where it didn't creep me out, or it didn't, it looks too real. Yeah.
Right.
Like, this was it. You know what I'm saying?
Uncanny Valley. Absolutely. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Polar Express. Mars Needs Moms. Yeah. Yeah.
Polar Express. Oh, no, never again. Can't do it. But this one was cool. And my favorite animation has to be the ocean. When you talk about how beautiful they animated the ocean and the details that they put into place. Like the one time where the ocean, right at that scene you were just showing, I think, where she's a teenager, when it licks her hair and it styles her hair into a wet, ponytail. It's just so beautiful. And I think that's one of the things that I loved about this movie so much, is how beautiful it was to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I want to go to this place. Like, I want to be there. And I know that there are some islands in Hawaii that are just as beautiful, but I just am blown away by it when I see it. And the animation is just amazing. And it's just like they hit all the right strokes with the how accurate it is to the culture, how beautiful the landscape is, how wonderful the animation is, and then the music, which obviously is pretty amazing, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I also want to talk about this because I don't want to flex on you too hard, but I have been to New Zealand and I have seen the whole Maori thing happen with like the touching noses and the dancing, and it is so impressive. It is so it's just so wonderful to see. And in this one scene where he's trying to teach Moana that she should stay on the island, he's coming up, and first of all they throw this blanket over, which has the director's faces on it, which is fantastic. But then he comes in and he breaks out into this dance, and then
haka.
Is that what it's called?
Well, that one not specifically. It actually bring up the haka. That comes right when he starts to fight the lava monster at the end. But there are moments in there where the dances are very authentic and they feel real. I've never been to New Zealand. I've seen a Maori culture in person, but there are people here who will do shows, or they'll do cultural exhibits where you can kind of see how they act and how they behave and what some of the history is. And there's so much of that in this film, and it's so well represented that if you don't know anything about the islands, if you just know of Hawaii from watching TV, then watching this movie, you really get a sense of, wow, this place is beautiful. I would love to live here. And it's like, just picture yourself 100 years ago on Hawaii Island, or someplace nearby. And, you weren't that far from the truth.
I don't know if you're able to see these clips, but this one where he's at the top of the mountain looking down is pretty amazing. But then they jump to this scene, which I assume is every day in Hawaii.
Not so much.
No,
maybe somewhere. I don't know.
That's just you every day.
Yeah,
that's just you. You're like, hey, I got to run out.
We're in the morning.
We're tossing coconuts. It's like this is the time we got to do it. No. No,
not really. In fact, I don't remember the last time I had a coconut, or touched a coconut. But, I've had coconut shaving or coconut flavored ice cream and stuff like that. But, physical coconut, it's been a while.
The other thing that they show here, which again is very authentic, I assume, is the tattoos that they have. And that's a big part of Maui is the tattoos. And there's this image here where this one guy is getting his tattoo. And if that's the way they give tattoos in the Polynesian cultures, I want no part of it. But is that,
yes.
That's a big
thing? I don't know if you have the image right before that close up, or if you remember in the movie, when you hear the boy crying, ow, 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 the first shot they show is somebody with their full back tattooed. Like there's diamonds and shapes all over his back, and they're tapping at him, and then they zoom past that, and then you see this one where they've drawn like 3 lines on his back. But that's how they do it. They really do. They just tap, tap, tap. It's a weeks-long process, and they will sit there days for hours and hours, and that's how they do it, and they still do it today. My coworker at the news station is in the process of getting some done on her arms and on her legs, and it means so much. There's so much meaning to it, like tattoos are for most people, but here in the islands, it's a really, really proud tradition, and I don't have any tattoos, and I think, there it is. That's the image. You can just see that's actually a really good representation of it. It's beautiful.
I still feel like I need to get one. I feel like because I'm such a Disney fan, it needs to be Disney, and I'm just still chicken about the whole thing.
That could be cool. I'd like to see it. Maybe something, maybe a full sleeve or something like that.
That's not gonna happen.
Maybe just one shoulder blade, Rob.
No. So speaking of chicken, there's a pig, and it's Pua, and Pua is a freaking adorable. Why was there not more Pua in this movie?
Thank you for bringing it up. That was my only complaint for the movie in the beginning when I saw it was, we see and we meet this adorable little pig named Pua, and you think, oh my God, here it is, the animal sidekick for the whole film. It's amazing, so cute. It interacts well. It does silly little things. It has emotion. And then we get on the sailing voyage, and we're with Hehe, the chicken. And the chicken is dumb and ridiculous, and really, really a fun joke. But man, I wish the pig was on that canoe instead of the chicken, because the pig was just too much.
Yeah, I agree. And then there's also this scene that I wanted to bring up. This little kid who's like making the moves on Moana, like with all the shoulder rolls and stuff like that. And she's like,
"Yeah, he had the slides."
That was you as a kid, right?
Awesome.
That was definitely you.
Oh,
like
100%.
Yeah, hitting on all the teachers.
Yeah.
No, I get that. You're suave debonair. I have no doubt this was going down.
Absolutely not.
So like when all the merchandising started coming out way before this movie, there was a lot of Pua, and it's adorable. And then there was some of Hey Hey, and when I watched the movie, I was like, wait a minute, what did I just miss? You see Pua in the beginning, you see Pua in the end. That's pretty much it. But Hey Hey is there from when Moana is little, and Hey Hey is still there in the end. And I wonder also, what is the lifespan of a chicken?
Yeah, especially since they keep referring to it as food. Maui picks it up and calls him a boat snack. right off the bat, and it's a great moment. But that's really all Hey Hey is. He keeps feeding him seeds throughout the journey to fatten him up, which is fun.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm hoping you're gonna reveal some big mystery here, because I really feel like Pua got written out of the script and the chicken got added, and I don't know what it is. Maybe are pigs bad luck on canoes? I don't know. What's the story there?
I have no story for you, my friend. I have none. I have no story. I can't.
The mystery continues.
Yeah, I can't tell you why that happened, but I was hoping you would tell me. But you're right. When the food is scarce, and that's what happens. So obviously, just to recap for anybody who hasn't seen this movie, I'm sure most people have, is that, when it opens up that Moana and her family are on this island with their entire village, and it's happiness except for Moana just yearns to go into the ocean and explore and go, and so her father, the chief, he wants to keep her there, and she keeps trying to get away, and so during this whole process, they're starting to see that the coconuts are going bad, the fish, it's harder to catch the fish. These other problems are happening, and yet here we have a perfectly healthy pig and a perfectly healthy chicken that are right here. I feel like that should be a given, that's going to be lunch someday, but apparently not.
Yeah, I feel like they had to be grooming the pig. Maybe the pig wasn't grown yet. A lot of growing left to do. That pig, when it's fully grown, could probably feed 10 to 20.
Sure.
Pua, as he is, maybe an afternoon for two people, and Hey Hey, it was skin and bones, man. There wasn't much left of him. So I like how Maui kept feeding him and trying to fatten him up. I'd like to see Hey Hey the size of a Costco chicken by the end of the movie. That would be a substantial meal.
My dream is that this world and Lilo and Stitch are interconnected, and at some point the luau where Nani works and David works is where you get Pua served up.
Oh, no.
Is that dark? I feel like that's a little dark. So
a little dark.
The fellas that done directed this movie, and I'm forgetting their names. Musker, they're legends. They're legends. John Musker is one of them, right? And I can't remember the other one.
We have a Google.
We do have a Google.
I can Google it.
No, you don't need to Google it. I've got it here somewhere. Because they're not your everyday names, right? Well, go ahead and Google it. Let's figure it out from there.
Yeah, I'm Googling it. Let's see here. All right. Ron Clements and John Musker.
Yeah, so John Musker was So Ron Clements and John Musker are shown in animated form in a couple of things in here, in a couple of other movies. They were famous for doing Aladdin, and so there was a lot of hidden scenes in here, and one of them is that magic carpet is shown here, like that is magic carpet from Aladdin, and the whole pattern, which 100%. Of course doesn't really match the Pacific culture, but it looks pretty.
Yeah, it's just an Easter egg, just something that they threw in there. And there's a number of them. In fact, there's nods to Finding Nemo. There's nods to the Little Mermaid. I try to think of the ones that I caught. There were so many that I know I missed, but there were so many moments where you just at one point you can see Flounder, from Finding Nemo. He's in one of the scenes with Maui, and it's just like, wait a minute, these are great characters from other movies.
And it's more Easter eggs than normal. So
Little Mermaid, sorry.
Yeah, Ron Clements and John Musker actually have two. There's one where they're idols, and then there's one where they're on the tapestry, which is not called a tapestry. I don't know what it's called, but they refer to it later, but they have these tapestry type things that they use to represent, Tamatoa and Maui and all these others. So there is one representing them, and then there's some idols, but there's also an Aladdin lamp on Tamatoa's back. The lamp. Then the carpet we saw, Flounder you mentioned. Olaf's hand is apparently in the cargo
I've heard
hold,
this. There's a stick and a carrot somewhere.
That seems so random.
Bad form.
Yeah, and
Bad
Sven,
form.
when he's trying to, when Maui's trying to learn how to use the hook again, we see Sven from Frozen. Baymax is
Yeah,
on
that one.
one of the Kakamora masks that are there. And then there's a tangled flower when they walk by. So there's actually an Easter egg bonus feature on Disney Plus that pointed out a bunch of these. So I knew about a couple. Obviously, Sven is in your face, but there's a lot of them that you look at.
Yeah,
and
that's
go,
an easy one.
Did I see that or did I not see that? So let's talk about the voice actors. The girl who was Moana, you're going to pronounce her name better than I will.
Auli'i Carvalho.
And you guys are best friends?
Well, no. In fact, I don't think I've had a chance to interview her yet either. But she was a discovery. She was not a star per se beforehand, but when they found her, she was perfect, and her voice is beautiful. She looks like Moana. She's got a lot of the hair is a beautiful hair and just a great smile. And her, I can't talk enough about how her singing voice is just so amazing. So yeah, no, we're very happy with the choice for Moana. Auli'i is a very talented star.
There was a video, and you should look it up sometime if you haven't seen it already, where they recorded Clements and Musker actually giving her the role and over Skype, and it was so cool to see her, like, her moment where she got to be, where she got picked to be a princess, basically a Disney princess. That's kind of amazing. And
she fit right into that perfectly.
Probably the youngest one, I would think, too. The youngest Disney princess, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
So, and the gentleman who plays the chief, Tamora Morrison. Tamora, is that right? TEMU.
Yeah. Let me make sure. Let me look at his name. That way, I don't mess it up myself.
But I have another reason for being a huge fan of him, and that's the fact that he is also Boba Fett in The Mandalorian.
Are you kidding?
No,
I did not know that.
Yeah, and like
yes,
so
I love that.
Whew, he is Star Wars royalty because he played Jango Fett in the Clone Wars, Attack of the Clones, and then he comes back and he plays Boba, which is perfect for him to do.
Tamora, Derek Morrison, New Zealand act. Yeah, wow, no, and that's amazing. I love that too. I didn't know of him beforehand, but he really played that part perfectly. There's so many great talent voices in the film. When you talk about I want to say the crab, but Tamatoa, that's Jermaine. That's one of my favorite. The Flight of the Conchords, one of my favorite shows, and he's a hilarious voice anyway. But to have him as Tamatoa, the giant shiny crab, was one of my favorite characters in the film.
And it's something that I never really pieced together about him is that, I know him from Flight of the Conchords as well. But what I never really pieced together is that, and it's obvious, is that he is from New Zealand. So, that kind of tracks a little bit. So there's a picture of him. Definitely he's the George Michael of the Flight of the Conchords because he's the one who has continued to have a career. But yeah, that song "Shiny" that's a fun little song for him to be doing.
It is. He has some really great moments in that song. It's for me personally, the song itself is less songy than most songs in the film. It's very Broadway, it's very, okay, I could see this as a Broadway song. But as far as Disney songs go, it's not the one that the 5-year-old is going to be singing in the back of the car the entire ride to school.
Right.
It's a hard one to put music to.
So let's talk about this gentleman. The good luck piece for modern day Disney is Alan Tudyk. Alan Tudyk is the good luck piece. He was the Duke of Weselton in Frozen. He was Duke Weaselton in Zootopia. He always has a little role, just like Pixar has John. They have Alan, and they do use
He's
him.
in a lot of these, right? Didn't he get cast? Isn't he going to be in Peter Pan? Right? He's going to be in I want to say he's the dad. I'm not
Okay.
sure, but yeah,
You know,
no, he's a great little actor. But who he plays in this movie is, I don't want to spoil it for you, but who he plays in this movie is one of the funniest things, because it's like, is that really a voice? Is that a character?
no, I mean, you can spoil it.
Well,
Say it.
he's the chicken. He's Hey Hey.
It's
Which
it's
I
nuts.
don't remember what Hey Hey sounds like.
Yeah, I don't either. It's very strange. You're right. He actually, there's an old man who talks about cooking him, and he pulls off like the rocks off the steam, and they talk about cooking him, and that's the voice of Alan Tudyk, and he's the voice of Hey Hey at that same moment. So I don't know. It's really weird.
That's
So
a golden moment. So that's totally one of those things where he's really only in the film because he's in all the films.
Right, exactly. That's why. Yeah, that's the only reason he's there. And I'm always looking for when's he going to be? When are they going to put him in? Where is he going to be? So the voice is amazing. Let me cut to another scene in the movie and talk about it. Is when Moana's grandmother is trying to facilitate her to go off the island. She wants to encourage her to go, and she hasn't really told her why, but at every turn she's kind of encouraging her. And at some point she realizes she shows her something she's never seen before, which is this hole in the wall. They go in, and there are a bunch of ships that are in there, and she says, "Go in and beat the drum." So she goes in and she goes to beat the drum, and when she does, we start to see like, and I'm not going to show too much here because YouTube will yell at me, but we start to see this like very mystic thing happen. It's like a supernatural, and up until this point I'm not sure that there has been anything that's been proven supernatural other than the water. Like it for her, like there, like that's not a thing that's been happening yet. But when she beats the drums, the flames show up. They all light up. All the torches light up. She looks around and she sees all this stuff. And the stories on the sails start to tell her a story of how her people were voyagers. So
Right.
Kind of amazing, and I think you talked about a little bit about that in the beginning about like these cultures were that kind of started this way. But it's really, it's the first time I see something that I go, this is kind of supernatural, whereas the rest of it could have been grounded in like reality. If that is that weird?
No, it was a bit jolting, when the fire lights up and and the room becomes alive. That was, I mean, I agree with you. I think the fact that it became supernatural at that moment was a little strange, but
Yeah.
at the same time, the water was talking to her earlier in the the So
For some reason, I was okay with that.
mean,
I don't know why. For some reason, I was okay with that. So in this scene when this is happening, they play this song "Away Away." I think this is my favorite song in this movie. It's just so
Yeah.
it gives you chills almost that when they do that, because it's got the that raw kind of like that what you imagine these cultures had going on, and they sing it in one language and then they break into English. My question to you is, what is that language?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know the language. I'm going to it. I don't think it's Hawaiian. I could say that much. I'm pretty sure it is not.
Is
but
Maori
it is,
its own language?
I don't know the answer to that.
I think it
I
might
don't know
be.
if that's the name of the language.
Well,
I know that that's a people, but I don't know. I mean, I know they have their own language. It's different than Hawaiian.
Right, exactly. Well, there is an extra that is an alternate version of Moana in Maori, is what it says. And if you watch this movie in that version, it's on Disney Plus, which is great, because I'm always like pounding on the fact that they don't always put a lot of stuff on there that is like extras. The extras are usually, here's a clip or here's the trailer, but this one actually has some deleted scenes. It has that Easter egg video I was telling you about. There's one about the music, but this is the entire movie, or at least 108 minutes of it, which is weird because the movie's or an hour 47. I guess that's about right. That's the same. I can do math. But in that one, I actually pulled it up and listened to it. So I think that's what it is. It is Maori. But I guess again, to my untrained ear, I don't know the difference, which of course is me and my little bubble.
Yeah. Well, even living here, I don't know the difference. It's not a language that I hear very often. It's familiar, I mean, I recognize it as a Polynesian language. I don't know what it is, but it would make sense. When you talk about the number of actors from New Zealand that are in the film, and you talk about how the cultures, New Zealand, the Aotearoa, the islands of New Zealand and in the Pacific Islands, they all kind of have the same kind of cultures where they are on an island, and they weren't necessarily from that island, but they traveled to land on other islands. The Maori people were explorers. I think that there was something that came out just yesterday where they just revealed that the Maui were in Antarctica before the Europeans in the 1700s, and so that just came out, like they were the first ones to go there. And that makes sense because that was in their nature. They lived on this tiny island, and their whole being, their whole sense of community and exploration was part of their wayfinding tradition.
I love that wayfinding. I love that. That's this lesson that, and apparently there was a deleted scene where she started out as like a seasoned sailor, and then she wasn't learning it, but she started out as a seasoned sailor. So and I think taught from her dad, which again, obviously they moved in a different direction with that. So let's talk about more music, because oh my gosh, I love this soundtrack. I think this modern day is my favorite soundtrack. I think for a minute I was all about Frozen. This one is one that I can listen to over and over and over again. You're Welcome with The Rock.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a reason you love it so much, right? And that's because it's Lin-Manuel Miranda. And I mean, nothing he touches doesn't turn to gold. So, everything that he's done so far, he loves. And, the music is just fantastic. And it's catchy because, again, Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yep. In the Heights, available on HBO Max. But what I actually love more than that is that there's a Jordan Fisher Lin-Manuel Miranda version that was the radio version of it. And I don't know if you've ever seen the video for it, but even the video is amazing. That he's in, I think Lin-Manuel is in London and Jordan Fisher is in New York, or vice versa. And they mirror each other in what they're doing in the video, and then they come together and they do the song. And I love that version of it. It's so cool, and I think it's such a good song in general. And it's kind of funny, obviously, when Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson does it, but with them singing, it's like almost like a ballad, and it's just very cool to hear. I think I love singing that one. I'm not going to sing it for you now. I love singing that one, but I think that "Away Away" is, again, one of my favorites. And then, of course, "How Far I'll Go" is kind of, I feel like the anthem, the let it go of this movie, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the one that the kids sing. That's the one that you hear more often, I think. But you're right. I think "Away Away" or "We Know the Way" is orchestral. The way it's put together is the musicality of it is probably the most beautiful song in the entire movie. As far as singability goes, I mean, 100%. It's in the I almost broke into song for you there.
Yeah, you're right. I keep calling it "Away." Yeah, I keep calling it "Away Away," but it is "We Know the Way." So, this is why I need you, man. I need you on here to set me straight, because honestly, I just get lost in this one. I think it's fantastic. So just to move the story along some more, at this point, Moana's grandmother says, "Hey, you need to go take the heart of Te Fiti, find Maui, tell him he needs to get on your boat and go return the heart of Te Fiti so that we can all save the world," basically is what they say. So then she falls ill after she says this, almost as if she has like served her purpose and feels like she can move on. And then she turns into a manta ray, and helps her get out. Like this scene where it feels like she's kind of leading Moana across the reef where she hasn't been able to cross the reef before. Is again that's part where I start thinking again and again, could Google this, is reincarnation part of the that Polynesian culture, or is it something specific to these people?
It's not. I wouldn't call it reincarnation. That isn't it. But
Okay.
and I don't know that it's referring specifically to this, but part of Hawaiian mythology is the Aumakua, and what that is it's an ancestral animal. It's a personal animal connection that you have, and when someone says, "Oh, my Aumakua is a shark," or it's a manta ray, it's their family or their personal animal that they either associate with, or it's an ancestor of theirs, and so there's a lot of that. In fact, a lot of that goes into some of the tattoos that they wear as well. Which, in fact, in the movie, she has the tattoo of it on her back, and so she becomes that. Now, again, not saying that she's Hawaiian in the movie, but if she was, that could have been her Aumakua, and in which sense that could have manifested as as an owl, or as a squid, or as a shark, or in this case as a manta ray.
Yeah, I guess there was that line where she says something about like she's gonna come back as a manta ray, and she goes, or else I got the wrong tattoo. So
Yeah.
that is interesting to know. But again, that's where my mind goes. The first time I'm watching it, not where my mind goes. I'm just like, wow, it's
Sure.
a Disney movie. I'm excited. Like, just, the first time I watch Raya, when I go back and watch Raya again, I'll probably be asking a lot more questions. So, the other thing that we keep talking about is tattoos. And again, I'm going to have to get one someday. But here, we see like The Rock. I feel like that's The Rock. I don't know. It's obviously it's Maui, but it's like we see him and he's got his little tattoo of like little Maui on him, who is almost like his his sidekick. Like it's like
Yeah.
his like like Lumiere or Cogsworth or I'm Miko, in Pocahontas. It's so interesting the way that they like incorporated a sidekick, but it's not really a sidekick. It's still kind of him.
Yeah, I felt like it was hit or miss for me. There were times where I felt like the tattoo was getting more credit than it should have. Like there was a lot of interaction between Maui and the tattoo that I felt might have been better played if he actually had a sidekick, if he had something. Maybe if he had befriended the chicken on his island, and he was there for 1,000 years with this cursed chicken that was also there with him for 1,000 years. I would have felt that connection with him and He'e more than him with the tattoo. But I think it was important. I mean, he definitely needed it because, there are moments where, he's going off on this crazy tangent and the tattoo is his center. It's his like, hey, man, you're really going to leave her here in the cave. You're really going to do that. And they kind of brought him back home.
Yeah. Okay. So, Realm of Monsters. So they get on the boat, they go off, they're going to get his hook. It's in the Realm of Monsters. Again, I got to ask, is that a thing you've ever heard of before?
No.
Okay.
I think that's exclusively a Disney thing.
At some point, you're going to go, Rob, shut up. I don't, it's like, it's enough. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just love looking at it.
I mean, I can make it up, I mean, I don't know.
I'd buy
people
it,
in Hawaii
dude.
would find me
I
dumb.
would buy
They're
the
gonna
whole
find me, they're gonna
thing.
be like, what did you tell him? We do not have a Realm of Monsters under the Safeway in Kalihi. That is not true.
Costco,
But it's true, Rob.
Safeway.
You enter through the you enter through the ice cream section. It's
Okay, I deserve that. So anyway, they go into the Realm of Monsters, which is very cool. And in the Realm of Monsters, they're like under the water, like it's like not underwater, but under the water, which is kind of a neat thought process that they're so far down that they're below the water. It's a really neat thing, but I feel like that they could have spent more time in this. I mean, they just go there to meet Tamatoa and have him sing a song, and get the hook. But
yeah,
I feel like they could have spent more time there. No.
Super scary moments in there. I liked it. That was one of my favorite moments of the movie, honestly. I mean, we're adults watching this. And so, when the monsters come out, basically everything in that realm is trying to eat Moana or kill her. And I mean, I can imagine as a child, like as a 6-year-old watching this, that was probably the most terrifying part of the whole movie. And while it was only, I think, a section of 3 or 4 minutes in the film, I can imagine a 6-year-old crying or a parent having to take their child home from that moment in the film. So
that one right
personally,
there,
as an adult, I would like the director's cut. You know, give me 20 more minutes of monsters.
That one right there, that one with the mask, that's the stuff of nightmares right there, my friend. That's
he is. That one was crazy. There's another one with teeth. I don't know if you saw that one. He kind of looks like one of those anglerfish. It's super scary.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good stuff. And you're right, it is a little intense. And there is a little bit of a warning about that in the beginning about that how it's intense, and it is definitely intense. But then you have funny moments like this where she's staring into his eyes, and he's like, pick one, just pick one. Just pick one, just one or the other. It's like you're messing me up.
She's doing this. She's gonna.
And that's I think where Jermaine's like real, like, his jokester pops in right there, where he's just like, I don't know. I mean, that as a comedian, he, I'm sold at that point. He's so good.
I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't, if that wasn't all, ad lib, or just if he just did that all on the fly.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm gonna take a quick break at this point and ask, because we do this all the time on Deep in the Plus, is that at the end, if we get 50 likes, and even if we don't, you're here. We're gonna open a wishable at the end. This is actually an Alani wishable. Look at that. Look at that. I mean, I don't even know if you can get your hands on these down out there anymore, but I have one only and especially for you being on the show. And so if we can get, like I said, even without the 50 likes, we're going to open this tonight, but we'd love to have everybody like. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe so more people can find us and find all the great programs. But I'm excited about this one because it is Alani. But also last week I just told people that if they would comment in the chat about the movie and what they thought of it, that we would pick somebody at random. And last week to win a wishable. And last week we picked our friend Arlo. He won a wishable. He's got that coming to him. So we'd love for you to comment.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
please hit the like button. I want to see what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, that's
I'm hitting it. Can I hit it over and over again? Can I just keep tapping it?
Just keep doing it, man. Just keep doing it.
Off. Oh, it doesn't work.
No,
okay.
It doesn't work. It's
unliking. That's not the same.
That's anti-productive. I'm not down with that. So I skipped a part here in the movie, and it was the Kakamora. The Kakamora scene. Tell me why. Tell me why.
We'll skip that.
It does seem unnecessary now that you mention it. But it is an epic scene. I mean, and again, we won't talk about all of it, but it's the supernatural. It's this weird thing that there's this world of coconut people who are after the heart of Te Fiti, and it's kind of Waterworld. You mentioned meets what was the one that Mad Max, because they've got the drum on there. But again, it's very epic. That scene, and it's this whole fight scene, and they're trying to get away. I don't. What do you think about the Kakamora scene? And I'm not going to ask you if that's a real thing either, because I assume it's not. But what do you think about that one?
I thought the Kakamori scene was cockamamie. I thought it was just unnecessary. I mean, it was cute. I loved the characters, the little coconut monsters. They're adorable, and so for the sake of character development, loved it. But the way that it came on and it went away so quickly, I felt like if they had given me a few more minutes of it and maybe given one of the characters a voice and let them talk, maybe I might have been a little more attached to that scene. But otherwise, I just felt like it was unnecessary. It was an extra 3 minutes in the film that they either didn't develop enough or they didn't need.
Well, here's the main reason we needed it, is that they make a Kakamora float at the Magic Kingdom sometimes. It's a rare thing when they do, and it comes and goes. But yeah, it's. I mean, like, I feel like the whole scene was worth it just so that we can have the Kakamora float. They also had.
I take it back. That's 100% worth it. I'm so glad they did it.
While I'm already on the food that has been inspired by this movie, there was a thing that they did. I don't know. You don't get to Orlando as much as you probably should, but there's a thing that they did called the Hey Hey Cone, and it looks like this. So it's got raspberry Dole Whip, regular Dole Whip on a cone, which has his blue body, and then it had like his whatever roosters have.
It's got eyes.
Like, yeah, and it has eyes on it and the gummy thing. So yeah, they really marketed the heck out of this one. And you know what?
I like that one. I like it.
People related so well to this. I actually had to pull somebody else's image from that one because when our team at WDWNT did theirs, they didn't get to it fast enough. and so it's
that looks like something from Monsters Inc.
they didn't get to it fast enough and it melted, but God bless them, they do try to get as many food reviews in as possible. But yeah, they melt pretty quickly in the Florida heat. So yeah,
that is the truth.
Yeah.
I melted pretty quickly in that Florida heat too, man.
And you live somewhere tropical. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's different.
I know.
We can talk about that for a second because you go to Orlando quite a bit.
Yeah.
My wife and I should have sent you this picture so you could have it in the show. But we stayed at the Pop Century Hotel, which was fantastic. So much fun.
I love that.
And we checked in. It was nighttime when we checked in, and it was warm. It was so warm. And we thought, wow, it's really humid here. I wonder if it's going to be that way the whole time. But when we woke up the next morning bright and early to go to the park, and we opened the door had the frost that you see on the side of a Coke can, when like it's just dripping condensation. It was on the outside of our door. That's how hot it was in Florida and how cold it was in our hotel room. And it was, we were in for a really long day that day. Boy, it was sweltering.
Yeah. I mean, I can't defend that because yeah, it gets that way sometimes. I put it all aside and go, hey, I'm going to see Mickey. I don't really care. It's going to be fine.
We did the same thing.
Yeah.
It was worth it. We were dripping with sweat the entire time, but hey, we were at Disney World and that was awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm glad you had a good time there, man, because someday you and I need to go there together because that'll be a good time. So the Kakamores, we're behind that one. I mean, that's done.
Sure.
The Realm of Monsters happens. He gets his hook. Now they're going to put the heart back. And they get to the island, and there's a lot of drama between the two of them. He breaks his hook because she was determined to go in through the island. He's like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. He has to throw the hook at the lava monster to like protect them, and it cracks and it's almost broken. And then he goes through this whole thing about how like this is all he is his hook, and without his hook he's nothing. And then she's by herself and she's like, the ocean, you made a mistake. I'm gonna throw the heart back. And then here comes Grandma Manta Ray. She comes and manifests herself and gives her a little pep talk, and then she kicks back into her How Far I'll Go song, like version 8, I think. I don't know, there's so many. The reprise, if you will. And then
more supernatural there, though. How did you feel about that?
Well, at that point, I guess I'm okay with it, but you're right. It was, I think you used the word like jarring. It was jarring in the beginning, even though I was kind of like believing that the water was taking care of little baby Moana. But her playing the drums and, Grandma knowing that if you play the drums, that the torch is light and you're like, you have a fever dream where you see your ancestors. I feel like that's not a thing that happens. So it kind of took me out of it for a minute. I was back in for this one. I get it. She had to have that third act, right? Where she's like, everything was going too good and you needed to have it, turn around for her. So she goes back to try to do it herself. And then during that time, she figures out something that I can't believe I didn't know, and I don't know if they just threw me off at the beginning, that the lava monster is Te Fiti. Did you see that coming?
Yeah, I did not see that coming. That was really well hidden. That was a spoiler alert. That was a moment. And it makes total sense, of course. And when you talk about what lava is and how the islands are formed, like that's something that, for somebody who lives here and sees it, you can, for example, if you've been to Hawaii, the Big Island is a great example of this. The Kona side of the island is lava rocks. It's all black lava rocks. There's very little growing there. It's hot. It's unfriendly to growth of any kind. In fact, to build hotels and roads there, they just take the rocks and they just turn it into asphalt and they just pave the roads. It's a really, really rocky, dry place. On the other side of the very same island in Hilo, it's lush and green and overgrown, and there's all kinds of animals and insects and everything that you can imagine in the forest there. And to build a house or something there, they actually have to cut back all of this, and they have to, really kind of put themselves in the middle of this forestry. And Hilo is like that, and it's the same island. And so, when you find out that Te Ka and Te Fiti are the same character, they're just two versions of it, totally makes sense. The way the Hawaiian Islands are formed is they start that way, and then they become this beautiful green, hospitable place.
Well, and when they reveal it to you, it's that she gets it. She sees it, and she looks around, and she realizes, like, she sees the spot and says, okay, wait a minute, I know what's going on here. And you realize it with her. And so that's amazing that they were able to do that for you in this movie, is to put you in there with Moana at the time and having that feeling. I get chills about it just thinking about it just now, and I know that's weird. But there's then that scene where she goes all, like, badass, and she's like, let her come to me. And then the ocean opens up, and wait, and let me just pull this out. So the ocean opens up, and then it's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna come get you. And this slow motion scene where she's singing like this, I've crossed the ocean to find you. Oh my, like this right here, this moment. This is the Disney moment. The chills, like
I'm
the whole
so
thing.
glad you showed this moment.
I think it's even before she puts the heart back. It's like the lava monster cools down, and they have this like this moment, which again is a very Maori moment. The touching, like noses or
that's
together.
a Pacific Islander moment. It's what they're doing is they're sharing breath. It's a very personal and a very intimate moment that people have here when families meet, when friends meet, when enemies become friends, or even it just there's something that happens there. You're touching noses, you're touching foreheads, and you're breathing deeply, and you're breathing each other's air, and essentially you're sharing that moment, and that is the most personal thing you can do, and it's reserved for really intimate moments with friends and men, women, men. It doesn't matter. It's just that thing. And so when she has that with the lava monster, it's so cool. It's like, oh my gosh, this is powerful.
And I can only imagine how that changed in COVID. Like that's the exact opposite thing that, and I don't mean to put that down, because that is, that does sound like a very personal,
true.
Very close, very touching moment to have with another human being. And that was like,
it's not the same with an N95.
It's like you wrote the script of what not to do in COVID. Not that close. Don't breathe each other's air. Don't touch each other. Like, I mean, it's exactly like you just wrote exactly what they should not do in COVID. So yeah, that's kind of nuts. And
that's wild. Yeah, I spent all of COVID in my house, so I don't know. I never had the chance to do that, but yeah, that's crazy. I didn't think of it that way. Boy, that's going to change forever. I'm going to have to go and talk to some of my friends and see if they still do that. Probably not.
Yeah.
Unless
Call
you're
me.
Vaccinated.
Call me. Let me know. So they have this moment again. Once she's become Te Fiti again, and that's. And it's really neat because it's almost like that's the moment where she brings everything back. She brings the boat back. She brings the hook back. The heart's been given back to her. She gives back to them. And then she's like, let me go get a nap now. Let me go take a nap. Like almost immediately. Like, let me just go ahead. Let me just give me 5 minutes. Let me hit snooze. I'm going to put my head down. Y'all don't worry. Y'all don't, I just need a minute because I've been fighting this for too long. And I love the image of how the island is shaped at that point, because if you had looked at it at that point and you're like, it's whatever, until you see her lay down in it. Like if you see it once and then you see her lay down in it, it's like, okay, that is definitely her laying on her side. So such a beautiful movie, every beginning to end. So much of it is amazing. There's the touching moment where she gets her tattoo on him, like that, his moment that he shared with her, and then he takes off, and she's like, you can come teach my people to sail, and he's like, they're gonna have the perfect teacher. It's just really such a cool moment. But the one last thing I have to ask you about this in particular is, and again, I'm trying not to make YouTube angry at me, but he's got his hook here, and he turns into a bird and flies away. Where does the hook go when he turns in?
Yeah.
That bothers me.
Yeah, or when he turned into an insect, or when he turned into a fish or a shark. I don't know. I asked myself the same question.
And of course, I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. It's all fine. But then everything grows back. Moana's fixed it. She comes home pretty quickly. Yeah. I feel like she traveled across the world, and as these things are coming back, and the mom and dad are seeing these things are coming back, they look up and here's Moana coming over the ridge, and it's like she got there pretty darn quick. So, and then all her people.
Maybe she caught a ride on the eagle's hook. I don't.
Could have been. I mean, it's such a good movie, and again, it's a longer movie than some, because I think Pocahontas is 88 minutes. This is an hour 46, and it goes by like that. I mean, I feel like it does. With all those pieces. Before we get into your final thought review of this, is there any other moment here that we haven't talked about that you wanted to mention?
I wanted to just, we were talking about the sailing canoes and the wayfinders a little bit. And I wanted to just share with somebody who's interested in learning more about that there is a Polynesian Voyaging Society. And they still, to this day, carry on the tradition of sailing by the stars and sailing with your gut, which is what Maui teaches Moana in the film. And they still do that today. There are 2 sailing canoes. One is the Hokulea, and the other is the Hiki Analia. It's her sister's sailing vessel, and it's a double-hulled canoe with canvas sails, and they go out on these educational trips. And they're about to take one here in the next year, and they're going to go around the world. They're going to sail the Pacific Ocean rim. Excuse me. And it is an incredible thing to read about and to learn about and to see, because they do it the way that the ancient Polynesians did, and they navigate through the stars. And it's an incredible science, an incredible thing that they do. And if you're curious about learning more, go and check out hokulea.com and see more about it. The people that do it love to talk about what they do and how they do it. And so there's lots of really good information on the internet.
Very cool. Yeah, and I think I have it here. It's too big. Hold on a second. Just smile and wave, boop, boop, boop. So it's this one, right?
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Yeah, Hokulea. That's how you spell it. And then if you go to thatword.com, you can learn all about the Polynesian Voyaging Society. They just came back from a trip recently, and they're planning to go again. And what they do is they load up the canoe with food and supplies. It's very modern in that they still carry video equipment so that they can send back videos to people.
Oh, very cool.
But they navigate the traditional way, and they survive the traditional way. Even though they eat protein bars and such, modern food, but still, it's a pretty incredible experience.
So they're using the old ways, but they're eating space ice cream. Is that what I'm hearing? So before we go into final thoughts, I do want to talk about how Moana has it's been so moving to society in general that and I don't know if it's just like what we call tiki culture, but the idea of this, of Moana, whether it's the music, the story, the heroine, what pieces of it that are magical, but people love having that, and so they're trying to bring more of it into the parks. There was a rumor at one point that we kind of proved to be true, that they were going to take the Tiki Room and make it a Moana experience, which was going to be like a meet and greet sort of a thing. And as a Disney purist, I go, stay away from the Tiki Room. This was Walt's baby. You shouldn't be doing that. But it does look cool. I mean, I'm not going to lie, that does look pretty cool.
It looks pretty. I mean, I agree with you. Tiki is amazing, but come on. Talking waterfall could be awesome.
If they could do a good job of it and make it really entertaining, I'm not even gonna say that in front of this crowd because they will have my hide. But you can also meet Moana, and I that's the one that, like, at the Halloween parties and everything, it's just the lines are insane to meet Moana. Here she is in her native train station. No, that's not how that works.
That's her hut.
But they do go out of their way to make sure, that people have access to talk to Moana, see Moana, that kind of thing. Right now, because of COVID, they're doing a lot of these cavalcades, and they've brought Moana back to the cavalcades. The other thing is that they're actually building the Journey of Water at Epcot. So Moana's Journey of Water, I don't know quite what this will be. It looks beautiful. It looks, I love the idea that you could be walking outside of Epcot and get lost in an area that looks so Pacific. But I don't know what exactly it is. I just know it's, quote unquote, a journey of water. But and then finally,
that's pretty cool.
Finally, well, you'll have to come down for that one. Finally, the Polynesian Hotel, they're like, hey, let's Moana this thing up. So they're doing a revamp, and it's very subtle, I think. I think they've done a good job. There's Pua again. Again, very marketable pig, just not in the movie. This looks exciting to me. I can't wait to see some of these rooms in action. That's the shampoo, just like Moana used to have. All that. So, they are, and there was a rumor at some point, which I would have loved for this to have been true, that they were going to make, and I don't know how far-fetched this rumor was, probably it probably was never even true at all, that they were going to make a volcano on the edge of Adventureland that would kind of tie in with the Polynesian, but still be in Adventureland and be a volcano roller coaster geared towards Moana's adventure, and I would have eaten that up, especially because it would have been new and not something that they replaced, like when they put Mickey and Minnie inside the Great Movie Ride and broke all our hearts.
Yeah, I know how you feel about that. Yeah, no, you were not happy.
No,
you're not. But don't they already have a volcano in the Aztec Temple at Epcot? Isn't the Donald Duck ride? Yeah, the Grand Fiesta Tour does have something like that, but not anywhere near to the scope and scale that they were talking about doing with this one. So I'm a little salty that never happened. But again, it could have been one dude made it up, and 800 other Disney bloggers went and reported it. It's probably what happened. So it probably was. Well, if you're looking for a real valid experience, though, if you want to get that Moana experience now, we talked a little bit about this when we were talking about Lilo and Stitch. The Aulani Hotel here in Hawaii is beautiful, is gorgeous, and all of the rooms look like that, and they feel very Polynesian. And of course it's in paradise, so they don't have to fake much. They don't have to bring in the Imagineers to do much there. It already looks beautiful. So and they do have a Moana. I was going to ask you, because you talked about in Lilo and Stitch how he's kind of like the mascot of that resort, and so they do incorporate Moana there as well. Yeah, Moana does meet and greets. She comes out, and there is a Hawaiian storyteller, and they do fireside storytelling, and so kind of like how Grandma does it in the film, where she talks about the mythologies. They have someone that comes out and will do that as well. And Moana comes out for a meet and greet as well. And she's very friendly. She's really sweet. And so there's a lot of that here. And I think, I haven't seen him, but I've heard that Maui also comes here. But I can't verify that. I've never seen Maui there. So he's never come on the show. He should come on the show.
I'll invite him if I see him.
Yeah. All right. So, but before we get to your final thoughts, let's go ahead and open this thing. This is from Alani. Yeah, this is from Alani. So, it could be Goofy Shave Ice Chip or a Spam musubi.
Musubi? Spam musubi. That is an amazing meal in Hawaii. It's you probably already know people in Hawaii love Spam.
Yeah.
We will take that. We'll fry it in shoyu or soy sauce. Some teriyaki it up, and then we'll put that with some rice. Wrap it in a little band of seaweed, and you can get that. That's our go-to snack. That is. You'll find that in grocery stores and gas stations, and kids will take it to school. One of my favorite things to just snack on. So
that
delicious.
Is crazy. I need to try that then. I honestly I was hoping for the shave ice, but I'm guessing this is probably a critter, actually, one of the Goofy or
yeah, I'm hoping for
Chip.
the shave ice too. They make them like that at Alani, by the way. They put little Mickey ears on the shave ice, which is really cool.
All right, so let's see what are you thinking? You thinking shave ice?
I'm hoping for shave ice. Yeah, I'm going to put it out there. Shave ice.
It's not shave ice.
Uh-oh. Oh, even better. Look at him.
Look at that guy. So what we're going to do is if you comment below and tell us what you thought of the movie, we'll pick somebody random and we'll send him this. We'll send him this little guy.
That's awesome.
So
great prize.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So we've gone over all this stuff. We've talked about everything from the music to the actors to the culture. I've asked you a bunch of dumb questions that you had no answer to. So this is the moment. Maleko McDonnell, would you recommend this movie?
Absolutely. I would recommend this movie. It's the cinematography, the experience itself, from a movie watching perspective alone, is enough. Even if you're an adult and you don't have a kid with you and you don't understand why you're going to go see a kid's movie, go just to see how beautiful the animation is, and that alone is probably the number one reason. Second, Lin-Manuel Miranda is the guy who wrote a lot of the music, or most of the music in the film, and he was doing this at the same time that they were getting ready to launch Hamilton. So if you're a big fan of Hamilton, in fact, I think in the credits he thanks the folks from Hamilton for being his sounding board while he was writing some of the music. They were singing it for him on stage so he could hear how it sounded. So if you like Lin-Manuel Miranda and you love fantastic animation and beautiful films, this is that movie. Go see Moana.
Well, I think it's no surprise for me that I've fanboyed over this movie the entire time. I love the music. I love the animation. I love the story. It's a story I didn't know already. Honestly, a lot of times we say we don't want to see a live action version. If they would expand upon it, I wouldn't mind a live action version of this. I just don't. And they could use the same actress as Moana, because she has, as you said, that kind of Moana vibe about her. So I wouldn't even pretend to try to not butcher her name. So that's why I'm saying that. You want to say it again?
Auli'i Carvalho.
There you go.
And of course, they could bring The Rock back too.
They could. They put a wig on him. Oh my gosh, that would be so perfect. So they could actually they're made for this movie. They should do it soon and do a live action version of this movie. But it is perfect in every sense how it is to me anyway. So, and because it's being like kind of ingrained into the parks, if you're a parks fan, I feel like you have to see this movie. You have to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And the Lin-Manuel Miranda stuff, again, I've seen Hamilton, love it. The music is crazy good. In the Heights, I've never seen, so I can't wait to see that one. And I love that he is going to be on some other upcoming Disney projects. So I'm really excited, that we got to talk about this movie, because it is one of my favorites. And I'm glad I got to talk about it with you, my friend, because you're wealth of knowledge, even if, again, I'm asking you some very asinine questions.
Rob, I always have fun with you. I love your depth of Disney knowledge. I always feel like I'm this much closer to Disney when I hang out with you, and I can't wait to go back. And I'm telling you, man, but my
bucket list goal is to do Disney with you, because I think that would be an incredible amount of fun. And if we do it, we should do it on this live stream thing here, and let the people see how ridiculous two grown men can be at Disneyland, because that is a lot of fun.
I'm in, dude. Just tell me when, and I am absolutely 100% there. So thank you so much for doing this with me. And be well, and hopefully we can have you back on and do something else. You choose it. It does not have to have, a Pacific angle. We can do something else. So, just let me know. But thank you, everybody who watched. Thank you guys for spending your Tuesday nights with us. We really appreciate it. And we will see you next time. Have a good night.
Aloha.